We have no nonsense energy here today. I'm under the impression that this intro needs to be short and concise. Like, I don't even think I can say hi. There's no absurd nickname. This is just commanding energy to move quick. So let me get to the point. No nonsense here. You might be feeling more direct lately, less tolerable, especially with like people talking in circles, fluffy phrasing. You don't have patience. That's very clear here today. There's specific examples, not for everybody, but like work meetings that go in circles, people who want to small talk. There's a lot of irritation with you for these things at this time. You don't want to be engaging in fluffy conversations that don't go anywhere. And maybe you always have. There's just a feeling of being more annoyed with people dancing around things, with people not being direct and not getting to the point. There's definitely more of no nonsense lately. There's two really specific things that came through here, but these don't need to resonate for this message to be for you. I just see there's a group here that is confused about a recent relationship and how much it impacted you overall. So this could show up in a lot of ways. The example I'm being shown here is like maybe the relationship was short, it wasn't official. It existed in like this space of special conditions. Most people will be like, it wasn't that deep. But this group of people, doesn't have to be for everybody, you might be struggling with that because of how you are genuinely deeply disrupted by it, despite the circumstance, despite the fact that it existed in this space that wasn't that serious. It feels like you can't not take it seriously. And then there's a second group here. And this group is showing me habitual things, like avoiding physical spaces in which this person, this connection, whatever this is for you, occupied with you. So this looks like avoiding a part of town that you know that you'll see this person in. It looks like avoiding a store that you two maybe went to a lot. There's a lot of like physical objects here, photos, texts, something you can't let go of recently. It's showing up in habits. It's showing up in a physical way. Definitely physical environments. There's tangible items, but these items are active. They are unable to move. So it's different than the first group because the first group is trying to get over like an emotional thing, is dealing with an invisible thing, as where yours is more like a tangible environment that is still active. There's also a note here. It looks like between these groups, there's just a general confusion of why it's lingering, why these physical spaces are still active for you, why this emotional thing is still active for you despite the circumstance. Definitely the thread between you two is like, this does not have to be romantic. This does not have to be a love reading. It's just, even if in a familial or friendship-based sense, there's threads that are remaining active despite your desire to avoid it. There's confusion also about like why you cannot categorize what happened, like a conscious replaying of it, and you're confused why your consciousness keeps replaying it. That like there's friction on that level. So a lot of specifics here in general. If any of that or all of that sounded like you have quite a specific message here today involving whoever this is for you and yourself. First and foremost, with the specifics in this reading coming through, I think there's like a literal meaning, like literal things might resonate today more than usual. Usually I say this doesn't have to be literal and it only is for a few. This feels like a lot might register the literal. Some of you maybe literally have experienced a situation, and this is so specific, where you have been locked out of an environment in some way, like locked out of your place, locked out of someplace, your car, whatever it is. You have been locked out, literally. Or from what I'm seeing here, that will be upcoming. So I suppose kind of preparation in the literal sense, especially for those of you who are going into new environments upcoming, like you're renting a car, you're going on vacation to a new house, new environments with different types of locks or doors. Be very mindful. There's literal language here about locks you don't understand and being locked out of them. And symbolically, it's very heavy, but on a literal way, there's some of you that might be a new environment upcoming to like keep keys under the mat, have a backup plan, all that kind of stuff. So just be mindful about that. I'll have to write more in the description because doors, locks, there's like heavy symbolism here today. For those of you who are new, I do write a lot of novellas in my descriptions for you, especially because my readings are so dense that I don't really expect you to follow along. I write most of it down for you. Hopefully that's helpful. But for what I see here, and to simplify, the symbolism of being locked out is juicy. Today, it is interesting because the symbolism is not about your literal experience. It is about this other separate thing, this other separate person. Being locked out symbolically is about this other person, but literally, it is about you. So those two are mixed, showing different things. Meaning you literally might be locked out or have been, while this person is coming through as like a figurative interpretation of this. This separate person to you is energetically being locked out of something. Okay, so this part of the reading is focusing on this separate person for you. Again, doesn't have to be romantic. It's just an active thread that you are feeling is difficult to cut, understand. There's some sort of friction here, avoiding physical things, physical places. It wasn't that deep, but it feels deep. There's lots of ways that this is showing. But for this person, getting locked out is not literal. It is a threshold. It is an energetic threshold that they are experiencing where they require relying on someone else outside of themselves for maybe the first time in their life. And that's why it's so distinct for me, is I see this energy of being locked out is showing me something that they've never experienced before. So when you think of being locked out from an energy standpoint, like you cannot resolve being locked out on your own. Usually the point is that you're stuck in some way. You need to ask for help, a locksmith, a neighbor, something like that. This isn't like a crafty, I figured it out, I broke in, I went in through the window. I'm being shown that they've exhausted all options and that they literally need to explore with other people, to rely on other people. They need to ask for help. And the reason that this feels so heavy to me in reading this energy is like they're uncomfortable. They are extremely uncomfortable asking for help, whoever this is for you. Asking for anything externally outside of them is not normal for them. It's not a primary way that they function. So whoever this is, friend, ex, family member, they seem to be relied on heavily by others. So maybe you experience that with them, is they're the ones that perform what looks like transactional labor for people. Like it could be a coping mechanism, but it could be just how they have primarily functioned. Maybe their family leans on them quite heavily to do a lot. Maybe work leans on them heavily. They find themselves in predicaments where they are being heavily relied upon by others, and they don't really have the same. They are used to being the one that people call, basically. When people need something, they call this person. So this threshold, this lockout moment is requiring something outside of themselves. It is a big moment for them because they've operated on this identity of I do everything for everybody else, and they don't feel comfortable calling someone to help them. And the important part of what this is showing me is like you were distinct to this person. Your relationship, your connection was different. They still haven't experienced this type of energetic exchange. You saw this person outside of what they gave. They didn't have to perform a task to feel seen by you. So you didn't rely on them essentially the way that others do. And the way that others still are is a lot of people are really, really heavy depending on them for things. And you don't need anything from them. You never have. You didn't need someone to lean on. You wanted a true form connection, and that's what is causing this sort of lockout moment for them. It altered them because by experiencing someone who fundamentally did not operate like how they experience typical connections, is like it is forcing this like reckoning with they don't have anyone to call when they get locked out. From an energy standpoint. From an energy standpoint, what this looks like is when they need help, nobody is there to rely on like they are for others. And this moment, I think why it's important, why it's being shown to me is like it brings them back to you energetically. Like maybe they have tried to avoid you, push you out, get through it quickly. But in this moment, it is a reckoning, a threshold where they are forced to remember the only time that they had someone that didn't need something from them. And that was the truest form of connection that wasn't one-sided. Because when all these people let them down energetically. They have to reckon with the fact that they are performing one-sided connections energetically. So whatever this looks like for them, the purpose is basically to call you back into their consciousness for a reason. And you may have some moments here too, but this message is not like, oh, this person like misses you. It is saying their guide's spirit is trying to push you back into their consciousness on purpose through this threshold moment. And it's particularly important that you understand the reason. So when they do pop up into your consciousness, you don't misinterpret it as like a failure or a problem or something is wrong. Spirit wants you to kind of see these conscious pings as something deeper. Basically, in other words, it's doing something larger than just the superficial way in which we understand I can't move on, I'm hung up on someone. And I'll talk about that in the next part. But this first part is just focused on this person and how you enter their consciousness upcoming and in the very near future and why. This part is explaining to you that this happens for them because you are coming back into their consciousness, maybe for the first time. And there's been a long separation or there's been a long gap of you not being in that space for a reason. And so it will purposefully bring up moments of feeling them more strongly in this time. But their guides, it's very clear here that like this moment of vulnerability, of energetic vulnerability and needing someone and that no one is around is to force them to see their false connections in their life, to force them to see and remember what a true connection actually felt like is even if you weren't genuinely like maybe as helpful as this person is, maybe you like weren't always there at their beck and call, is you were still the only time that this person had a real connection where they weren't serving someone, where they weren't doing things. And it's very purposeful that this is orchestrated to bring you back up into their consciousness. Interesting. Okay. Your main message is starting off by showing me another visualization, not this person getting locked out, not you getting locked out, but now it's showing me cars. Vehicles. And vehicles are symbolically dense as well. They are a moving vessel. They show a lot in symbolism, but it's showing me that you're seeing whoever this person is for you, you're seeing their car either a lot, you were, and Spirit wants to clarify what is happening when that happens for you. It might be relevant to only a few in a literal way, and I'll just talk about the figurative way for most of you that aren't seeing the car, because for most of you, you maybe aren't seeing the car, but it's showing me a moving vessel of energy that is important to what's upcoming for you. So I kind of see the car here, their car, this moving vessel is like representing what your psyche is processing, and it's being reflected back to you in your environment. Again, this physical environment is important for some of you, avoiding physical spaces, environments, tangible things, but the car here is symbolizing an active thread. It is showing me something is commanding your conscious attention. And some of you are what looks like here resistant. You are not wanting this person in your conscious thoughts because there's multiple reasons here. You feel it's unproductive. You feel it's bad. You feel you're caught up. There's a lot of reasons I see you pushing these conscious thoughts away, shoving them down. Maybe it just is an emotional thing, but this person emerges in your consciousness for a reason, and it just feels negative, but it's really not. It's natural. There's some things here Spirit really wants you to know. What stands out most is after a person leaves your life, after a person who was highly active and activated you in multiple ways, it doesn't matter how long the relationship was. It doesn't matter if you were official. None of that matters. It just matters how much they activated you. Long after they remove themselves, there is subconscious processing that happens years and years outside of the connection ending in the physical. Most of the time, even people who move on quickly don't recognize that they are processing subconsciously, that they are still quote unquote hung up subconsciously on whatever this connection was for them. And I think the reason why Spirit wants you to know how subconscious processing kind of works and how long it takes, it's years and years after anything is gone. Your guides want you to know that consciously bringing things up, it's not a failure. The effort to remove conscious thoughts is futile because it already exists below your perception. It's just we have a negative view of conscious thoughts versus subconscious because we have to actually see them. Or subconscious thoughts can be kind of hidden from us, like we don't have to like feel that, but it's still there. So I guess the main thing here is like, whether you literally see their car or not, it is showing me the conscious awareness for this person and how they show up for you randomly and they command your energy. I think putting a timeline to when this person should stop logically popping up and commanding our energy is also kind of silly because like when you're an energy reader like me, you recognize that delayed integration is a thing. So delay here doesn't mean that it's slow or that we're behind or that we're stuck on something. Delay here, when I look at energy, is just it's on a divine timeline, meaning time is a construct. Things integrate when it's meant for us to integrate. So I think the confusion here on your end is like integration should happen rapidly. It should be on a clock, a timeline. And maybe there's some people who think that integration represents our spiritual health, like how healthy we are. And that's not true. Actually, integration is on your purpose timeline. It's on your destiny timeline. So your destiny could be activated years and years and years after a connection, and it will bring to surface things from the subconscious that you think you should be reasonably over. And that's the fight here that Spirit is showing me, is like when these things pop up into your consciousness, you're fighting them because the time, the circumstance, whatever is not welcome by you. But the thing here is like these things popping up are more reflecting your activation. They're more reflecting your progress. And Spirit wants you to view it as like these things popping up are like healing signals and not like I'm stuck on something signals. And that feels so reversed. And it feels so like, I'm challenging what we know mental health and integration to be. But from an energy standpoint, when things get activated, when cords are activated, things are moving, things are positively flowing out of the psyche. It is good that they're coming up into your consciousness. It is showing you something. So Spirit really wants you to hear your divine timeline, your purpose path. When things that you feel you should be logically over are coming back up, this is progress. This is not, oh, I'm taking steps back. So that's the first thing that seems really important here. It's saying there's no timeline for things coming up into your consciousness. In fact, that reflection is usually a positive sign. Things are moving and there's no like healthy, okay, I need to integrate everything a week after the relationship. No, that doesn't, it's activated by your purpose. Your purpose gets activated, your timeline gets activated, and then your psyche begins purging things. Your subconscious begins releasing them into your conscious awareness. So not viewing that as a negative is very, very critical to this message. The other part of this message that seems very strong is you are in a space right now where you are practicing recognizing significance. That is so, so clear to me. You are practicing recognizing significance before you can understand it logically and consciously. So for example, let's ground this with seeing this person's car, such a real thing in reality that happens, right? Why is this happening? So you see this person's car and you're like, oh God, here we go again. Now I have to remember this person, all these emotions, all these memories are coming up, and maybe you try to stuff it down, maybe you just deal with it, whatever you do. The spiritual thing that's interesting that's happening here is like you don't consciously understand at this point in time why the car is coming up. You have some ideas, you have intuition, but you won't logically understand what the universe is communicating to you. You won't clearly get a definitive answer. You have no real thing when this car comes up to point at and say, yes, I understand. Thank you, universe. This car coming up is so clear to me. This whole message for you is like, this car coming up is here and you have maybe a gut reaction, you have an instinct, but you don't have anything real. You don't have any tangible thing to say, okay, a direct answer, I get it. Instead, you're left with what's important here, which is your intuition, your internal knowing. Your intuition in this case might say, okay, this car is coming because this person is thinking about me more. This person is going through something. Or maybe your intuition says, this is coming up because my psyche is processing and now I'm activated in this more destiny path. And so things are reflecting to me in reality. So you could have many different ideas of why this car is popping up for you. You could have many different gut instincts. In general, there could be a number of things being communicated to you with this type of occurrence, an infinite amount. But it is happening, and this is clear to me, and this is your message, is like, it is happening because your guides are trying to strengthen the ability to see these things and not have answers. Your guides are trying to strengthen your ability to see these things, not have answers, but know that they still matter anyway. Just have that internal knowing this still matters. And this is your intuition. This is your self-knowing strengthening through these occurrences that your guides are putting in your field, in your reality. In other words, your guides are probably going to put some weird shit into your field at times. They're going to just throw some stuff in, and this is to strengthen your internal knowing. This is to strengthen, I see something that is perplexing and I believe that it is true. I believe that it is significant. And you'll be faced, I see upcoming, with what looks like a lot of weird occurrences, a lot of things that you're going to try to logically understand what the actual answer is definitively. And the real reason that they are here is to bring you back to self, is to show you weird, odd synchronicities. And your first intuition, your first significance about that is the truest form of that. It's to strengthen that knowing. And like I said, there could be a lot of reasons that you're seeing a car or whatever the literal synchronicity is for you. But the reality is that your guides, spirit, the universe do this because your purpose, your destiny, your path is activating. And something is demanding more awareness. It could be because this person has reached their lockout moment and you are in their conscious awareness more. It could also be that your psyche is working through the subconscious gunk that is being reflected to you in the physical. There could be so many spiritual reasonings behind these phenomenons, behind what you experience. It doesn't just have to be that you see their car. You could be forced to have synchronicities that are just odd constantly. And the biggest part of this message is like, none of those synchronicities matter as much as looking at them all and saying, it is asking you to trust you know what the reason for seeing this is. It is asking you to trust the first thing that comes to your intuition and take that as the answer. So your guides are asking you to see something weird, to see an odd, very clear synchronicity and not have a logical reasoning, not have a clear answer, but recognizing that it is significant to you and that you already have the answer. You are being given experiences, in other words, to practice, you know, the feeling before reality confirms. You know what's true before reality confirms it to you. You trust your inner knowing without any proof. That is what is happening here. And that is what will continue happening here as your destiny path is clear. So seeing their car, you may feel initially it's because they are experiencing this lockout threshold. Trust that immediately. That is your message. Trust that without any proof. Trust that without them texting you. Trust that without them apologizing to you. Your guides want you to practice trusting the significance without any formal confirmation. Trusting the weird, odd significance alone. And that is your main message here today. This last part is just me bombarding you with affections and love. This is not part of the message, so don't stay if you're keen on only listening to message stuff. Here I just talk at you and say silly things. But if this message did resonate, I guess one not silly thing is a frequency did come through. I keep getting a lot of those, especially since I containerized energy types. I will leave more about this frequency in particular in the description because it's a little bit more layered, I think. There's a lot here about recognition, noticing significance, and accepting the meaningfulness of synchronicities before you understand why. It's associated with the third eye chakra. Some of you might feel that instinctively, and I will leave that in the description. When it's blocked, there's issues with your own trust and perception. So more about that sound, more about healing in the description if that resonates, if this reading did resonate with you. Other than that, I just want to encourage you all to keep leaving nudges. Nudges for those who are new and stuck it out. Wow, I can't believe you're here in this outro as well. But nudges are how I channel so detailed. I read based on communicational energy you send to me. So comments and things you send. It doesn't have to be your whole life story. I don't know if some think that still. People put silly things in the comments like emojis. I don't need very much to feel you. So that's it. I just love you so much. Cheers, friends.